What the hell is going on? That is how I'm going to start today's video. Because when I left home this morning, everything was pretty rosy. Everything remained pretty good, and we were all enjoying where we thought we were at with the current DJI FPV system. And once again, today, DJI do what they usually do in times like this and throw the biggest curveball we have seen. Now, this video I'm recording live, but I will be putting it up on the channel afterwards as well. So hello to you watching this later. Hello, everyone in the chat. Someone please tell me it's working, except you, Mark. I don't trust you. Hello, 36 of you. Thank you for tuning in of this unscheduled stream. Hello, Mark. Hello, Bruce. Hello, Type. I've seen a load of comments in there. So tonight, yes, we are going to be talking about DJI again and what is going on with this, or what you see in the back of this, which is the Air Units. Now, over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of DJI news. We've had this thing released, which is the FPV drone. We had all of the hoo-ha around the version 2 goggles and the end of these, the version 1s. However, things were pretty stable and we were in a situation where the V2s will work if you can get them activated with the original Air Units. This remote won't. However, you can continue to use your FPV quads with the version 2s. However, today, and someone messaged me this morning when they first saw it, something happened, and that something is this. DJI have put a notice up on their website that says the DJI digital FPV system is no longer in production. For the latest technology, please view the DJI FPV drone. So this is basically saying the FPV system is no more. It has gone. It is end of. It is a no more FPV system. It is non-existent. But what does this actually mean? Well, the reality is no one knows for sure. Okay, let me be absolutely clear about this. The information I'm going to talk about tonight is purely the facts as we know it today at the point of making this video, and there will then be my conjecture of what I think is going to happen. Now, for those who are regular viewers of the channel, I've been talking about this for a few weeks, and I have said more than once, I have a horrible feeling what we've seen today is going to happen. I've hinted it on RC groups, and I've hinted it in a few places. However, it isn't necessarily the end, and with DJI, you always have to read between the lines, and the interesting bit is actually what isn't said and what is often. So, to summarize where we are at, the DJI website, just to put this back up, says that the FPV system is no longer in production. Now, we should break down what the FPV system actually is, because the FPV system, as I understand it, was the whole package. So that would be the goggles, an Air Unit, and the remote controller. You were able to buy the components of the FPV system as a standalone. However, the whole system was just that package as it is. So it would imply that that package is no longer available. Now, that in itself really isn't news, because these goggles are no longer available. The V1s cease to exist, which I've got here, and the V2s have not been made available in that FPV package. So this message that DJI have put out really shouldn't be that surprising. However, what is more concerning is what else we're seeing, and that is not only that the system isn't there, there are shortages of Air Units and cameras as well. And whilst you can still go on DJI's website and look and get Air Units, for instance, they have the Air Unit module, the cameras have disappeared, but other elements of the system are still there. For instance, they're showing the V2 goggles on the store, they're showing the original FPV remote, and they're showing the Air Unit module. However, you can't actually order the package. So this has blown up today, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat, guys, as I'm doing it. And there is all sorts of comments out there. This is just them making a V2 Air Unit. This is them ending it. Is there going to be a V2 Air unit? Is there going to be anything else? Well, the reality is we don't fully know, but the situation is really as this. Here and now, DJI have said the digital FPV system is end of life. There is no more. You will no longer be able to buy it. You can buy components. However, the fact that the camera isn't listed tells me that the Air units will go as soon as stock goes as well. That then leaves the question of what happens with the remote controller. Do we expect the remote controller to disappear? And then you're down to the situation of the goggles being only really compatible with the current FPV drone, because that's all you can actually buy, or legacy product such as the Air units. Now, it is worth stating that there has been a post today from Caddx and their CEO, and they have actually said they are continuing to make the Vista kit. So whilst DJI have said the FPV system is no longer available, they have said, don't worry, they will continue to produce the Caddx Vista and Air unit. That will continue to be produced. However, the question mark for this will be for how long? When will this end? What is this about? Now, I think you have to dig a bit deeper on this to understand what's going on. The DJI FPV system uses a custom ASIC, which is a custom SoC. We are facing a global supply issue of SoC, and I think it's not unrealistic to see DJI put all of their effort into this right now. That means from what they've got available of the current system is going to fall away, and then it leaves them in the situation of deciding what to do next. Will there be a version 2 Air unit, or will they let the product fall away? Now, here and now, they've said nothing. They have simply made a change on their website which says this is no longer available. There has been no official statement. There has been no official confirmation. There has been nothing to say what their intention is. And to be honest, I am not expecting there to be one. DJI are not very good at communicating, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Now, for me, I think this decision has been based on component supply right now. But the big concern is, if they put this product out of production, will it ever come back? And this has always been where my main concern is, because the reality is this makes far more money than this. So why do it? And at the end of the day, DJI is a company that wants to make money, and that's what this comes down to. Now, there has been all sorts of posts today. There's people saying, dealers have been out saying, don't worry, there's going to be something coming. The reality is, though, guys, there is no info. We honestly do not know what is going to happen. The actual situation is this. They have ended the FPV system. Components of that system appear to be in short supply and are heading out of stock. Whilst Caddx have said they intend to continue, from a DJI point of view, at this moment in time, I am not expecting there to be anything come. Now, the big question really in all of this is, will there be a V2 Air unit? And alongside the V2 Air unit, a new remote controller or compatibility with the existing controller? And the simple answer is, I don't think there will be, personally. I don't know any facts. This is just personal opinion. But I honestly don't think it's going to happen. And I will hold my hands up if I do get this one wrong. But in the end, this FPV market is tiny to DJI. This market means nothing overall compared to this market. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is they will go where the money is. Now, there has been all sorts of noise about they've let people down and stuff, but you've got to look at history with this. This is not the first time DJI have pulled stunts like this. For instance, for those who bought the OcuSync Air system with the FPV goggles, the big box ones, you can no longer get those Air units. That ends. That's gone. People who have that system and have crashed their drones, they're done and broke the Air units. That system is over. I've had many people write to me on my videos for those products and say, do you know where I can get an Air unit? And the answer is no, they're not available. DJI has a very long history of dumping products and ending any support for it. Whilst they'll say we're continuing to support it, once it's gone, it's gone. They're very much a commodities type business that whilst it's in production, it's great, but the second it ends, it ends. And it is a very real possibility we're going to end up in the same situation as this. Now, it is good that Caddx have said they're going to continue. And I'll catch up on the comments in a minute, guys. I am keeping an eye on them. It is good that Caddx have said they're going to continue, but my concern with this Caddx is for how long will they be able to do so, because they are relying on DJI providing the ASICs. Also on that, my understanding was Caddx was not producing that Air unit as far as I understood. I believed it was basically manufactured by DJI and branded by Caddx. So we're going to have to see where that ends up. When you look at this, you have to look at this as what makes the most business sense. As a company, DJI do not give a toss about specific user groups. They do not care how they treat groups of users. If they make a business decision, that's it. It's done. End of. And that is where we're at today. And whilst a lot of people are saying things like DJI wouldn't do that to the FPV community, don't be under any illusion for 1 minute they actually care. They are a business that is here to make money. Whilst there are fantastic people at DJI who want to do the best they can for users, as a corporate entity, they do not care one bit about what effect their change has on you, because their business is latest, greatest, move on. That has always been their business. That will be their business forever. They push the boundaries of technology. They give you stuff you can't get anywhere else. But once it's gone, get your parts in place ready, because you won't get them later. This has been the same for every single product they have ever made. And that is the situation. Now, we are all in limbo on this one. No one was told about this. And it just goes to show how these decisions are made. Not even DJI's own partners were given a heads up on this. Even the likes of Drew Camden from Rotor Riot, with all of the clout in the FPV industry they have, was not aware. They were not told that this was happening. They have done this completely outside of everyone. And again, this is a classic example of them being marketing driven and not customer focus driven. And this is something that they've always done. Now, just to catch up on the comments, because there are a lot of them. If you do have any questions, guys, please do put them in the comments. I'll answer what I can. I'm going to start from the bottom. Bruce, Porn. But think about this. People buy the FPV drone, then they slam it into pole. That's it. They're done for now. That same person's going to buy a drone, a frame, build their own. They don't care. Right, the money they make on this Air unit, they are making more money on one battery for this drone than every Air unit. That Air unit will be expensive to make. They're charging £170 roughly in the UK. They will be expensive to make. The battery costs for this drone, the FPV, that battery costs $20. And they're selling it for 150, 160. That's where the money is. You've also got to look at how much money they're going to drive off K refresh. And things like that too. That is where they are going to be driving their money. Air Units V2 depends on if DJI think they can sell lots of goggles and controllers. I think there will be an intention for an Air unit. The question is whether it will ever happen. And that is the problem right now. You know, if we look at today, we have no FCC filings. There is no hint of anything coming. With DJI, there is usually always hints. What I think... there probably is a roadmap, but will it happen? That is the question. You know, all of their development clout has gone into this. Everything for their development has gone into this. And just to explain how they work, because I have been involved over the years, Their mindset was this product. That's why all of the V2 goggles owners haven't been able to activate, because they only cared about this product. They only really gave an interest to this. And then suddenly that little bit of backwards compatibility bit didn't work and they couldn't activate it. Nick's that, okay, so do you know how JB always says there's no evidence of a V2 unit at the moment? Instead, nor do I know if anyone is doing it. That's pretty... Do you know how JB always says there is no evidence of a V2E unit at the moment? Instead of no, I don't know. No, he's hedging his bets. And look, and I'm pegging... Look, I'm giving you an opinion. My opinion is I'm not expecting one soon. I would like to think it would happen. And I hope I'm wrong, but having seen the experience I've seen from DJI over the years, I would not be shocked if one didn't ever happen. Failsafe FPV, time of their lives. Fat Shark must be loving today. And let's be completely clear, DJI have brought all of this on themselves. Every bit of flack they've had today could have been avoided by prepping dealers and explaining what they're doing. Yet they've chosen not to do it. And that's where you have to read through the lines. If it's OcuSync 3, I'd go at least 250. Don't get too hung up on OcuSync 3 versus OcuSync 2. Okay? OcuSync 2 and 3 are virtually identical. The only difference is the bands. One's dual band, one's single band. Yes, there'll be some small technical changes to the ASIC in the background and stuff like that, but it's not a fundamental difference. It really isn't. The thing to also take into account, there were many OcuSync 1 products that were upgraded to OcuSync 2 as well. John Racer, remember that the real FPV community is tiny fraction of their customer base. Their real customers are those who buy their drones, not their air units. Absolutely correct. And that is the thing here. Now, I hope I'm wrong. You know, I have no insider. There is no insider info. There is nothing I know other than what you guys know. And what we know today, just to be clear on the facts, is they have ended the FPV system. But I would read that as the whole system, as a package. Air units are going out of stock left, right, and centre, as are cameras for the DJI ones. Caddx have said they intend to continue to produce the Vista. There has been no statement or acknowledgement from DJI of anything else. Various dealers are saying, don't worry, everything will be okay. However, other dealers that I trust are saying, we know nothing. We were not told about this. So right now, we are in 100% limbo, and that is where we're at with this. There really is. So if you read online someone saying, I know, I've been told by my mate there will be another one, you cannot believe anything anyone has said until you have a piece of paper from DJI that says it in writing. As good as DJI customer service is at times, don't believe a word they say. Until we have it in our hand or it's in writing, it does not exist. Hell, when it's in writing, I wouldn't trust it until it's in my hand. Whilst there is more than likely an intention to deliver a solution, that doesn't mean it will happen. And just to explain why I know these things on this, DJI intended to bring a ground station unit for the Inspire 2. It was in all of the marketing for the Inspire 2 at launch. They promised there would be a ground unit that allowed you to connect the X5S series of cameras like the original Osmo. It never happened. It never existed. DJI promised that they would be bringing ProRes RAW support to the X5S on the Inspire 2. One of their own members of staff openly said it. That never happened. Over the years, there has been time and time again, they have given intention to do things, but something's changed. So you have to be very careful what DJI say publicly as accepting it as fact or not fact. Evening, folks. What did I miss? Solar FPV? Is it Solar or Soar FPV? Hope you're well. Porn V, how are you? It's only DJI wakes up and pulls out the license from Caddx. Video out. Fat Shark must be having the time of their lives right now. I guess I'm glad I still have a ton of analog gear. Strips of jacket. Fat Shark have a reason to celebrate today. Does they? You know, okay, what would I do right now? Hand on heart, if you have a DJI system, get yourself the air unit you need for the future. Okay? Now, you could get bitten by doing that. Understand that if you've got V1 goggles and you're happy with it, I would suggest getting yourself all the air units you're going to need for the period of time. Okay? If you don't have to do that, then you can afford to hold back, but understand you may be in a position that there will be no more. For the foreseeable future, Caddx have openly said they're going to continue, but remember, the Vista has no onboard recording. It is not the perfect solution. It's frankly a bloody mess. If I'm honest, it is an utter mess. For Fire, Fat Shock isn't an option for quality HD. Agreed. That is the risk point, and this is what I'm saying, right? If you're a V1 user and you are happy with your system, forget what will come in the future. Buy what you need today to be able to continue to use your system. That is my advice. If you're not happy, then sell your goggles and wait to see what happens next. Just remember, your V1 system will not stop working. It will remain as good in the future as it is today. The problem is people get next gen hunger and want what's next, what's best. We know what is going to come next. Okay, even if there's a V2, okay, it's going to have dual band. We don't need it. The range on this will be fine with the hacks. You've got FPCC hacks and everything on this. The range is fine. It might have a slightly better camera. So ask yourself, are you happy with the current image quality? It could have onboard electronic image stabilization. I think that's a realistic option if there's a V2, because DJI have that technology and they have it in the drone. It might have improved OSD, probably less actually. Usually many products go backwards a little bit than forwards. So there are some little things that you might get. But the reality is this: if you are happy with your version 1 today, then I would simply stock up on air units just in case. No, correct, Floor Flyer. If they release a version 2, you're going to have the V2 goggles anyway. So ask yourself this: are you happy with the V1 goggles? If you're happy, stock up. Don't worry about it. Make sure you got spares. I did have a spare unit I was going to sell. Not anymore, Craig. Yeah, it is an absolute bloody mess, and this could have been so much better handled. Frack, but you don't need image stabilization on a freestyle drone. Don't forget, DJI don't know their market very well at times. They're quite happy to give you something you didn't ask for. Time for other companies to produce cheap HD FPV systems. Technology exists on high-end production. Time consuming cheaper versions. The problem with HD is this. Okay, guys. HD requires a massive amount of investment to get it working. For instance, DJI use a custom ASIC, which is an application-specific chip. It's basically a chip designed to do a specific task, which is made for them. There has been all sorts of costs bandied about, and there's a good video talking about this with FPV Blue, as well as It's Blunty. Go check that out, and they cover this. But the belief to design an ASIC, it can be anywhere between $1 and $5 million. No one is going to walk in to do good, cheap HD overnight. It is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Smart controller would be widely supported, yet Maverick 2 Brown after the FPV out. I think it's not so widely. Possible Mini 2. Come on, Fat Shark, next gen. You got to remember, Fat Shark are limited by the, again, ASIC that they're using from DiviMath, which does heavily limit them. And that's the problem here, you know. Should I buy the FPV version system for my version? Should I buy FPV system for my V2? Do you mean goggles? V2 with a built-in remote ID? Very possible. Oh, wait. Okay, look, let's think about what the next gen V2 could look like. So if there is going to be a V2, it's going to be dual band. We know that. Chances are it's not going to have this remote, because remember, this remote has very specific buttons for the FPV drone. Recording, start, stop, pause, mode switches, and the multi-switch. The chances are, even if there's a V2 and it's using a remote like this, it will be tweaked. It will be adjusted. So this remote still might not work. Why everyone keeps saying, why isn't this remote compatible? You got to understand, it's not well designed or set up for it. It really isn't. It needs adjustments to work properly with the FPV system. If we did get a version 2, it is likely to have 2.4 gig and 5 gig, improved camera, and some other stuff like image stabilization potentially, better DVR, some changes around the OSD, maybe some other things we're not expecting from DJI. But if they do it, I don't think it's in any form of development right yet. All our money wasted? I wouldn't say that. Okay. You got to take into account your system still works as good today as it did yesterday. Even if this system, these goggles with this air unit is obsolete, it still works. All you actually have to do is future-proof yourself. So, pick up air units, keep yourself ready to fly, and enjoy it. Just don't expect future supplier parts to be available. Caddx have openly said they're going to continue to produce. That's good news. But this air unit isn't perfect. It doesn't have recording. It's not as good as the DJI one. Stocks in analog manufacturers have just gone up. Look, this all may be being driven by the global chip shortage. You know, this all might be being driven by that. It's very possible the global chip shortage is playing into it because DJI have their own custom silicon. So that could be the reason for this. But my concern is always this with DJI. What is their intention and what will they actually end up doing? The Vista doesn't need recording at 50 megabits. The DVR quality is better than Air Unit. Yeah, it is pretty good. It is pretty good. Just got the V2 goggles, DJI controller, and the Air Unit. Is that bad? No, absolutely. Look, missing. It is not bad. The system is as good today as it was yesterday. So don't get hung up on, if you own this today, your money's, oh, they've ruined the coming hobby. They've ripped me off. Look, your system still works. Just future-proof yourself. DJI is like Apple. As soon as they make FPV system, absolute useless, you can buy new tech. I think the problem is, and I find this quite interesting actually, guys. Look, I've been following DJI since 2013. There are videos on this channel dating back to 2014. I've seen everything they've done. Every product they've made, I've either owned or tested or flown. I've seen this time and time again, and I've talked about this time and time again. For the FPV community, you guys are quite new to the DJI's way of operating. And you are used to, not that old, Bruce, you are used to companies being around or supporting products long term. That just isn't what DJI do. They make a product, they market it for 12 to 18 months, they bin it. That's it. Move on. Next. They have no concept of longevity. They have no concept of maintaining a customer user base over a long period of time. And time again, we see this behavior. So what you have to understand is when you are buying any product from DJI, buy it with the specification you have today, accept no promises of what might come in the future, and unless a feature or something is in your hand, it may never happen, and have everything you need to be able to support that product for future use. Inspire 1 users can't buy batteries today. The Inspire 1 drone, okay, it was released in 2014, but you can't get batteries for that anymore. It's end game. It's done. You've got to buy used packs or get them resold. So this will have that problem. If you own this, you also have to understand your appliance is going to cease to work in a period of time and you won't be able to get spares for it. just catching up on the comments. Who cares if the FPV community was beta test for DJI? Many would beg for that opportunity. So really good point, RC Rifter. It really is. And as I said, everyone's had the benefit of the system, and it still works. Your unit is still working today. I think I'll go out and fly the XX Jet IMAX for my tiny whoop. FPV type, float flyer, bad for life, both different tools. Air Unit version 2. I would make it compatible with the new controller with all the same functions as the drone, but then would it be for DIY? It's an interesting question. Just received a Caddx Vista and goggles. DJI discontinue it, lol. Look, just to be clear, the Caddx Vista is not discontinued. According to Caddx, they will continue to make it. So, look, it isn't over. But for how long? There is a possibility here. DJI are just going to shove the Air Unit side of stuff over to Caddx. There is a possibility that they are just going to leave that to third parties and just say the drone is for us and Caddx can rock on with the Air Units. Perhaps that's how it's going to be. Possibility. But how long for? How long for when those ASICs go out of production? All the supply of those ASICs stop, and then DJI need to invest an X amount of money to build another batch, and they turn around and say, we don't want to do that. Yes, you know, and this is the thing, guys. Don't think your system is over. They haven't bricked it. They haven't turned it off. They haven't stopped it. Your FPV system today works exactly the same as it did yesterday. What is uncertain today is how you will get one of the main components for it moving forward. So, again, if you are happy with how your system works and you're happy with the image quality, just get yourself some spare Air Units, and don't worry about it. Just carry on. Don't get the future product jealousy. You're never going to lose. Even if you buy Air Units and they release a V2, people are still going to want the V1s. When the smashed up DJI drones went up on eBay for sale, I like the stick in decent frame out of curiosity. Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, Bruce has made a point. You know, how long before the silicon runs out? That's the concern here, you know. Get a beer. I wish I had a beer. It's a mess. It's a mess. Now, if there's any questions, we've got 132 people tonight. Good evening. Hello, you lovely people. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to support us, don't forget to hit the little bell. And we do accept super chats if you want to ask any specific questions or anything like that as well. Look, DJI is coming out with the Mavic Air 2. People are thinking that DJI is going to give goggles access to their Air 2. What they're working on with it, maybe. All about drones with a fire at a silicon. There was a fire at a silicon factory. Will they replace Air Units with a new V2? No one knows. So again, I'll spell it out for everyone who's just come here. The story we have today is DJI have said the FPV system is no longer available or in production, so it's obsolete. But the system consists of goggles, remote, and Air Unit. Goggles, V1s no longer are available, but you can get the V2s. Air Units from DJI are in short supply. You cannot get the camera on DJI Direct. You can only get the Air Unit body. Caddx have said they intend to continue to make the product. However, there is no confirmation of what happens from DJI moving forward. No confirmed yes or no they will continue to support the system or produce Air Units. Regardless, at this moment in time, what you've read online, unless it's a statement from DJI, there is no info on what happens next. They have caught everyone off guard, including partners like Rotor Riot, as I've already said, and you've got people like Drew Camden having to put a post out on Rotor Riot saying this was a surprise to us as much as anything. At the end of the day, companies come and go, but FPV will continue. When you have their own partners like Camden and Rotor Riot having to say stuff like that, they have clearly got it wrong. Hit the like button. Thank you, guys. Please do. Thank you for the super chat, Francisco. Is it Francisco? Have I said that right? massively appreciated. They're running it until stock ends. That's how it feels. Whoop FPV, that is very much how it feels. They are running it until stock ends. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Do Caddx actually make the Vista, or DJI screw them over? That is the problem. I don't believe Caddx manufacture it. Hand on heart, I think it's probably contract manufactured to Caddx with one of DJI's suppliers. That's probably what it is. But remember, the key part of the Air unit is the ASIC, the silicon on board, and if they can't get it, they can't make it. No, I don't know. Okay, JC Fire, can those who purchase make a purchase return for refund? Look, I don't think anyone's got grounds to say DJI have screwed me over. Companies make products end of life all of the time. What you just have to understand is DJI will not provide you the longevity of support that you are used to getting from analog, because you are buying a proprietary product that only works with their own system. So as such, they are in full control of the manufacturing and supply of that. And that is the problem. And again, we've got Air Units, as I said, guys. The OcuSync Air system is in the same boat. Thank you for the super chat, Porn V. Massively thank you. Alex FPV, Caddx replied in Facebook regarding concern about discontinuous units. Please do not worry. Yeah, I've already said this. Yeah, Caddx. However, it is unknown for how long. If we're going to see a V2, it could be anything from 1 week to 6 months. The question is how far along the development are they? That is the question here. How far along the development are they? There are no FCC leaks or filings, but don't always worry about that. Whilst there hasn't been any leaks, you can have a product release and the FCC filings land on day one. So that doesn't mean there won't be something. As for timescale, no one knows. If they've been developing it in the background, it could land on Monday. If they haven't been developing it in the background, 6 months plus. And then that's what you've got to be careful of. And this is the big concern. If we are in the position today, right, where they have ended all of this because they've gone the V2 goggles, we're going to make new Air units, we're going to do this first, we're going to make this first. The plan is this. We're going to make the drone, release the drone, sell loads of drones, new goggles, V2s, brilliant. We're not making any more of these because we've run out of the chips for these. We're just going to supply what we've got left. And then with the new trip that we made for the drone, we'll make the new Air units. But we'll do that once we finish this. So this has gone out the production door now. This is done. They're all happy. So now we need to start working on this. Oh, we're going to need 6 months. If in that 6 months, they then sit back and go, it's going to cost us all of this money to make this Air unit, but this is selling like hotcakes, they'll just sit there and say, well, do we really need to even bother releasing this? What's the point? We're selling loads of these. What's the point of it putting this develop time? Let's just shelve it. Let's let that die. Don't worry about it. So it's going to take a very firm, hard commitment for them to warrant the development on a V2 Air unit. It may be a pet project for someone. You know, it's not a big item. It's not something that's going to drive huge amounts of money. It is extremely expensive to make. James, from your knowledge, will DJI, do they keep firmware on the website? Will the firmware be there? Yeah. The firmware server, there is firmware. DJI used to do firmware very differently, okay? So, for instance, firmware updates used to always be done by SD card. You actually downloaded a file and then put it on a card and install it on the product. These days, they do it all through their Assistant. It was originally DJI Assistant, then it changed to Assistant 2. Now we've got Assistant for FPV. That download server traditionally always does hold the firmwares. I'd not be concerned with that. They do remove older ones that they don't want you to have anymore, but they do generally have the firmware there. I've got no concerns about that. I have a thought that EU2 would probably pretty much from the DJI FPV so they can reuse the dev costs. Potentially, yes. But look, cost isn't so bad. It comes down... Race day quads and get FPV. I suspect they're going to run out quick is what they have got. Good evening, Bruce. Oh, sorry, Gary. That is a very interesting point, Bruce. And that is something I haven't thought of yet. And I'll say that now too. Do not update your V1 goggles moving forward. Period. Do not update your firmware. I actually said this on release of this. And I did say that. I even posted it on RC groups. I can prove that I said that. I did say do not under any circumstances update your V1s. But yeah, stop any updates on V1s right now, for God's sake. They won't stop making the ASICs. They need them for the FPV drone. What you've got to take into account is it the same ASIC or is it a different one? And if it's a different one, what work is needed to make it work with the Air Units? No, it'll all be over by then, Gary. I ain't talking about them next week. Man's Tech, should I order another Air Unit for my quad or should I wait? That is only a choice you can make. Again, as I said at the start, if you are happy with your FPV system, you are happy as you are today, ignore what might come in the future, then get yourself a spare Air Unit. That does no harm. If you're not happy, then hold back. But understand you might not be able to get them in future. There is no right or wrong answer. You just have to decide what is best for you. Don't get too hung up on what might come. Your system today still works, still fantastic. It is still the best digital FPV system there is, period, even though it's end of life. Yeah, and this is the problem. It's what time and cost they put in. You know, I have a concern we won't see a V2. Reality is, hopefully we will. Hopefully we will. Please to God say we will. But then what's the costs? Will it even work with the V1s? Because, okay, take this into account. Whatever happens, if the V1 Air Unit, if there is a V2 Air Unit, it's not going to work with your V1 goggles. It might not work with your V1 goggles at all. So you guys with V1s, these, could still be in a problem anyway. Just remember, there's no guarantees a V2 Air Unit will work with the V1 goggles at all. DJI have a long history of breaking backwards compatibility. So whatever happens, even if there is a V2 Air Unit, there is nothing to say it will work with the V1 goggles. It may only work with the V2 goggles. So many of you could end up in the same position anyway. DJI... What about activating units in the future? Will it be possible to... if you've got the spares, I'd activate them. You're starting your warranty. But you remember, if they haven't sold it for a period of time, I would just activate them. Mark Walker, will there be a V2 Air Unit? No one knows. There is nothing confirmed at this moment in time. At the point of me making this video. There will always be a strong market for used V1 goggles and Air Units. There will, Ogina Drone. There absolutely will. You know, I would have no concerns of buying Air Units today. You'll sell them. You'll sell the goggles. You'll sell the Air Units. No problem at all. V2 Air Unit, you know, and this is the thing we have to understand. You know, we need to split this down into a couple of things, really. Let me just move my cup of tea. Right, so today, the V1 DJI Air Unit is looking like it's end of life. Even if there is a V2, it may not be compatible with the V1 goggles. That's the V1s. So for V1 owners, you have a choice today. You either stock up on Air Units so you can keep using your system, or you sell them and get yourself a V2 now and hope you'll have compatibility with that in the future. But again, the end of the day, at the end of the day, it is a situation that only you can decide what the best way forward. Someone said, watch the short video from JB. I haven't seen it yet. What's he said? Again, everyone's only speculating. Even if it's someone at DJI has said it, it's not that I don't believe JB. I believe JB 100%. But I wouldn't believe a word anyone behind him tells him. Not JB, but DJI. I just don't believe anything at the moment that comes from them. Let's have a look. What's JB said? I need to find his channel. Is it true? It's a short 59 seconds. God. Oh God, my speakers aren't working. The V2 goggles will continue. Just see what JB says. Caddx's CEO has released a statement saying, so he's saying about Caddx. Vista and Caddx Air Units. Here's a message from Kelvin Lee, the owner of Movie Drone, who says DJI told him that they are discontinuing the Air Unit and camera SKU, but that they will still produce the Air Unit just without the camera for some reason. I guess we'll have to just use Caddx Nebula Pro cameras. Those are decent. The truth is that we just don't know what's happening yet. Yeah, JB's saying the same thing. We just don't know. Yeah, may not be getting the full story because DJI is a massive company and it's just difficult to get clear messages. Impossible to get info out of them. It is impossible. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not. I'm just listening to it. No. No, and that's it. You know, from JB basically saying what we've said. It's so look, guys. You know, the reality is this. To really, you know, I'll answer any questions now, guys, you got, but the reality is this, okay? Right now, we have some statements. We don't know what the situation is. We know Caddx intends to continue for now, and as much as they're able to. DJI, it's all a bit didn't know. Did he just say there'll be video on USB? No, he never mentioned video on USB. What we know is there's going to be supply of issues of the current Air Units. I would stock up if you're happy with your goggles. Will there be a V2? No one actually knows. No one actually knows yet. Hopefully, they might make life a little bit easier in the next couple of days, but, you know, it is just another fine mess that they've managed to create for themselves. If the Air Unit V2 has 2.4 and 5 gigs, V1 can receive 5 gig signal. Yes, but does that mean it will be compatible? No. This remote does both, yet it's not compatible. Wait, you just find something? 1 second. This remote does 5 gigs only, yet it's not compatible with the drone. You know, DJI do not have a history of great compatibility. What we know is no one knew this was coming. Yeah, Caddx is very much a default response. You know, I suspect, you know, if you read their spot, they may have, you know, 1,000 ASICs sitting on the shelf that they're able to keep building Air Units with. So they say, yeah, we're going to keep going. Doesn't mean they'll get them forever. I'm happy with my V1. I have plenty of Air Units, some Caddx, so I thought I purchased a second Caddx because I don't trust DJI. It's a good move. Look, guys, it's not a bad move stocking up, but you can't. What you can't do is if you stock up and there's a V2, blame people for telling you to stock up. Yeah. 1,000 to probably about a month. Probably about a day at the current rate, Bruce, I think. COVID can't be passed on by humans. Just reading down the chat. It is a bloody mess. Whatever we call this, it is an absolute mess. Yeah, it is. Air Unit is heavy. Look, we all hope there's a V2. At the end of the day, we all hope there's a V2. I just have a horrible feeling on this one. That's what the Chinese said. Right, yeah. I think, and I think something I've been saying a lot more recently. You know, DJI are not your friend. They're here to strip you of money. And releasing you an air unit that works with these isn't going to strip you of much more money. They want you to get a new set of these and an air unit. They don't think the same as we do over here. It's a very different culture. It's a very different behavior. The air unit system is what? Heading towards 18 months old now? I still have my being home, which is 250 full DJI unit. Time's a bit limited though. You know, Caddx Vista is good. It continues, but it isn't perfect. No, I think, when did the V1 launch? It's got to, I think it's about 16 months, Gary, off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember when I had it. I need to find my video, because my launch video, I did a launch day video, so that'll tell me. Studio, I'll just see when it was. Playlists, DJI FPV System. And then I'll see which is the oldest. Where is it? There it is. When was this? August the 2nd, 2019. So we're what? August the 2nd, 2019, my review went out. So it must have been... I had it for launch. So yeah, about August. Yeah, about August 19. So the system isn't far off 2 years old. It's not far off 2 years old now. Just reading the chat. Kaya, I will start investing in OpenHD. OpenHD is interesting, but it's not perfect. You know, there's a really good video on It's Blunty's channel. If you guys haven't seen this, go and check this video out. It is fascinating, especially for those like me who are who do look at this stuff on and it's about the guy. This video here, check out this video here from It's Blunty, and he talks about digital FPV systems and the guy who was involved with FPV Blue. And it's a really interesting video, and they talk a lot around the costs involved and the difficulties involved in doing it, and how DJI have managed to blow everyone out the water. You know, getting involved, you know, okay. So, you know, here's a good question. So where does the future lie? Okay, so we have DJI, which appear to be pulling back. We'll see if they pull forward again. We have Orca, who are allegedly working on a digital FPV system. That is apparently in the works. We have Fat Shark with Sharkbite, which is good, but it isn't anywhere near what DJI is. And we've got OpenHD. And that is really where we're at. Sibri FPV, is it down to hardware limitations? Okay, the big problem with creating a digital FPV system is the ASIC, the custom hardware. So there is no off-the-shelf hardware that allows us to do what we need to do, like there was with analog. Whilst there is hardware that allow you to do things, relying on off-the-shelf hardware will not get you to where DJI is today. So Fat Shark ended up partnering with DiviMath, who have their own ASIC, and DJI have created their own ASIC. Whilst there are lots of mobile phone chipsets out there that do very similar things for radio and video encoding, none of them are designed to provide the things we need on the bands we need, so 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and the ultra low latency video that we need. Now that isn't to say, and it's the guy from FPV on It's Blunty's channel talked about this, that someone like Qualcomm won't make a chipset in the future that could do this, especially for 5G. But here and now, there just isn't anything. Now, OpenHD is taking off-the-shelf Wi-Fi hardware and using that to be able to do what we're doing. But that, again, it is not designed for the kind of throughput and data rates that we are used to using for these FPV systems. Drone Racer, Bentley's a professional growler. Slippery looks like one. In June, the camera and the camera unit is still available from resellers, but not DJI. Always a good move. You also have FSK working on HD Mad. My cousin is about to get his first build. Should I tell him to wait for the V2? Missing. At the end of the day, the current system is still fantastic. So if he's going to buy a build and he wants to fly now, then buy it. Because it's still the best system there is out there. DJI is mad that the FPV community doesn't like their FPV drone. I don't think they'd have done it just to annoy the community. Look, this is a marketing decision, by the way, more than anything. What's the military using? The actual bandwidth needed is crazy. It's all about the ASIC. It is. It is. The bandwidth is incredible when you add it up. 141 in the chat, so support us with a big thumbs up. Please do give us a thumbs up to everyone watching. But not for long. Connex Wireless HD Link for UAV Professional, 1080p, 60 frames a second, 370, but not fast motion. They need to make it better. Connex was struggling. It was big. It wasn't great. It also struggled to live up to the hype as well. So FPV. Anyone else fed up with the FPV fanboys? Look, it's a good product, but it's got its limitations. Bruce has a great 10 plus and 10 minus video. I watched it, listened to it in my car today. I wasn't watching it. I actually had it on the radio listening, and it's a very, very great video. 10 plus, 10 bad points. 100% agree with him in every way. Bruce, did you say the price of the batteries in your minus points video? Because I don't recall if you did. Don't forget the ridiculous antenna. Missed the hats then in. I saw the hat, the front face and the back face. He's down with the kids, you see, Bruce is. $150. Yeah, Bruce, did you mention it in your video? XJet, good point. Okay, guys, is there anything else you want to ask me before I wrap this one up? It's a great Virginia drone. No, to stick to 10 points, the battery cost was number 11. That should have been number 1. Just kind of waiting on the chat. It is a bloody mess. An absolute bloody mess. You know, at the end of the day, and again, guys, I'll end on this, I think, as well. You know, at the end of the day, your V1 system is as good today as it was yesterday. If you're happy with it, invest in it, secure your future, and don't worry. Just carry on flying. But at the end of the day, be under no illusion that this all may end. And because of that, put some things in place to protect yourself. What I'm actually thinking is I don't know whether to put this video up live because it's going to be a bit long. Caddx is going to carry on with no problems. Orca has something. Orca's the interesting one. Fat Shark must be... The only problem Fat Shark have is the product is not good enough. It's decent, but it isn't good enough. And that is the problem. It's a good product, but it isn't good enough. They cannot capitalize on... Look, today is a massive home, goal for DJI. The sad fact is there's no one there to capitalize on it. And there's been a few comments of, would Fat Shark be happy today? If they had a decent enough product, then yes. But they haven't. So Fat Shark are in no more of a position to capitalize on this than anyone is, because the reality is no one can really recommend selling this and going to buy the competing product because you will be disappointed. And that is the big problem. So whilst DJI once again have caused themselves a massive home goal, it won't really be a problem because there's no one to capitalize on it anyway. So they get to sit there and go, oh well, people don't like it. That's it. And that is the reality. That is the reality of the situation. Now, if there are any more questions, guys, before I finish this one up. Jones, I bet Fat Shark only spent 5%. I don't even bet Fat Shark has spent that, to be honest. Can't use shark bait with DJI. DJI should give the license to someone else. They don't need the money.
Didn't Fat Show out yesterday they'd be making a new digital goggle? Yes, they have. They have got plans to make the goggle, but the goggles isn't the problem. They've got good goggles. It's the air unit and the system. The system is not capable of delivering what we need it to do. As it stands today, it needs a better ASIC, it needs a better data rate, it needs improving overall. It's a good system, but it can't remotely compete with what we have on DJI. That's just a reality. That is simply just a reality. Another subject, do you know what the A consumption in the Fat Shows now single board is? The amp consumption, no. I don't. Yeah, it will be uploaded to the channel. Red Cat are just VC fund vehicle for founders and cash in on the hype. This is related to digital video, but not DJI or FPV. Do you think HearLink will be around for a while? HearLink will be continuing. I know Philip is a great guy. Profi CNC Hex Cube Pilot. HearLink, there is every intention of it continuing. That isn't to say there won't be some new hardware at some point, but your current system is still being supported. There is a beta in the works. There is some big improvements in the background that they are hoping to get out as soon as possible. There's a mild update due any time. I haven't seen as he posted it yet. It's in alpha. And then there is a major update behind that which will resolve a lot of the complaints people have around the stick resolution, around other things as well. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, well, JB hasn't said that. A dealer has said that. So please do take that into account. HearLink's a good piece of kit. Mine is there. I can see it in front of me already. In fact, I need to do the firmware update to get that alpha. I'm going to do that when I finish this stream. How long have we been? Oh, we've hit the 2 hour. We've hit the 1 hour. So it's confirmed that Air Units and Caddx Vistas are cancelled. No. Okay, so Jay, nothing is confirmed other than this. Caddx are intending to continue to make Air Units. That's it. That is all that is confirmed. Dealers and other things are saying DJI are going to do this or that. Ignore that. None of that you can believe. All you can take as fact right now is for the foreseeable future, Caddx are intending to continue production of the Vista. That's it. What happened to all the Bite Frost gear? Yeah, they sold it off, didn't they? As long as they can. That's the basic, yeah, you know. But anything else, whatever dealers say, whatever YouTubers say, or my mate has told me, you can't believe it. And I don't mean that against any of the YouTubers, right? Many of us were told this system by DJI was going to have video out for the Air Units, and it never happened. So you have to be careful to what you say and what you're told. Bite Frost still works with Shark Bite and Vista vice versa. Yeah, exactly. On that. So, yeah. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up because it was a short 1 hour midweek stream. Thank you to everyone watching. If you have enjoyed or liked the channel or the content, please do give us a like, a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. If you want to buy this, there's a link in the description. Bruce hates affiliate links, but I do use them, so I'm going to say they are there. Should I get the Vista in my next build instead of the Air Unit? Do you need onboard video recording? If you need onboard video recording, get the DJI. If you don't, get the Vista. Sing a song. We want a song. Take care all. Please stay safe. We will not be talking about DJI on Gary's Drone and Sundry livestream, which is SUAS News. It was fantastic. It was nice to have a midweek chat. It was unexpected overall. The Vista, just on Vista versus Air Unit. Okay, we'll end on this. Vista versus Air Unit. Vista has no onboard recording, but it's a smaller, lighter package. It basically almost does everything else the Air Unit does apart from the onboard recording. Overall, it's probably a better buy. It's better value. There's going to be better support moving forward. Probably go with the Vista. Good night, folks. Please stay safe. Look after yourselves. And this one will be up on the channel shortly.